Hey there. My name is Liz Ray, and I am a professor of psychology at Northwest Vista College in San Antonio, Texas. And today I am starting Psyc365, which is 365 days of psychology. So we will be learning all sorts of things throughout the next 365 days. Some of it will be based upon the book 365 Days of Psychology by Daly, which was published in 2024. So today's our first day of psychology. What should we do? We should figure out what psychology is. So psychology is the scientific study of behaviors and mental processes. It's not just this academic discipline out there or something that only therapists have to study because they're going to be psychoanalyzing us. That's not the case at all. It's something that we can all learn from, and it can make all of our lives better. So, as I said before, we're not, everyone who studies psychology is not going to go into counseling. They're not going to become a therapist. And I think that this is one of the really big, um, you know, misunderstandings relating to psychology from people who don't have a background in psychology. And so that's one of the things that I'm doing with this project. So I don't know how many times I have, gone to places or been on a plane and someone has said to me, "What do you do?" And I say, "I'm a psychologist." And they're like, "Oh, I don't want to talk to you. You're going to psychoanalyze me." That's not what I do. So everyone in psychology is not a therapist. There's going to be lots of different fields within the larger field of psychology. And so that's one of the things that we want to talk about today. So it's more than just therapy. It helps us to understand human nature. It helps us to understand ourselves, help us to understand other people. So let's look at some of the possible disciplines or fields of study underneath psychology. So think of psychology as this like big umbrella term, and underneath it, we've got all of these little different, I'm not sorry, little, they're not that little, these different research areas. So a couple of the ones that you might have heard about, developmental psychology focuses on how people grow and change throughout the lifespan. So preconception all the way until death. Behavioral psychology examines why we behave as we do. Social psychology looks at how the presence of others influences the individual and the individual's behavior. And then biological psychology studies the biological roots of behavior and mental processes. So that's it. That's day one. What is psychology? So what I want you to do is think about this and go, okay, so what sort of things, if I was a psychologist, might I be interested in studying? I know people who study identity development. I know people who study structures and functions in the brain and what they do. I know people who study cognitive development in children. I know people who study better ways to teach. I know people who study mental disorders. I do have friends who are therapists. I do have friends who are psychiatrists. Remember, the main difference between those two is that in almost all states, psychiatrists are the ones who can prescribe medications, whereas psychologists are not. I know people with master's degrees, with PhDs in psychology, and we will talk throughout this year about what the difference is between those two degrees and why it's interesting, useful, and important to know those differences. So, welcome to Psychology 365. I hope you enjoy spending the next year learning with me. Thanks.